Have you ever wondered what it takes to stand firm in your faith against all odds, to face kings, lions, fiery furnaces, and even visions of the future, all while holding on to an unshakable trust in God? This is the incredible story of Daniel, a man of courage, wisdom, and prophecy whose life defied empires and changed the course of history. In today's video, we're diving deep into the life of Daniel, one of the most remarkable figures in the Bible. From his early days as a captive in Babylon to the powerful visions that foretold the rise and fall of kingdoms, Daniel's story is packed with jaw-dropping moments, miraculous escapes, and divine revelations that will keep you on the edge of your seat. But there's more. Daniel's story isn't just ancient history, it's a message for us today. His unwavering faith, his courage to stand alone, and his powerful prophecies still speak to us, offering hope, inspiration, and a glimpse into God's ultimate plan for humanity. Stay tuned to discover how Daniel's faith turned danger into deliverance, how his courage inspired a king, and how his prophecies reveal God's eternal kingdom that will never be destroyed. You won't want to miss a single moment of this incredible journey. So, if you're inspired by stories of faith, if you're curious about the mysteries of Daniel's visions, or if you simply want to see how God can use one person to make a lasting impact, this video is for you. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible Bible stories that will strengthen your faith and encourage your walk with God. Leave a comment below about what inspires you most about Daniel's story, and share this video with friends and family to spread the message. Let's explore the complete story of Daniel together. Prepare to be amazed. Daniel's story begins in the year 605 BC, during a time of great turmoil for the kingdom of Judah. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, one of the most powerful rulers of the ancient world, besieged Jerusalem, leading to its surrender. As part of his conquest, Nebuchadnezzar ordered his soldiers to bring back the best and brightest young men of noble and royal descent from Jerusalem to serve in his palace in Babylon. This was a common practice, designed to strengthen his kingdom by integrating the knowledge and skills of conquered peoples. Among the young men taken were Daniel and his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. These young men were not just any captives. They were chosen because they were without physical defect, handsome, and well-versed in wisdom, knowledge, and quick to understand. They were seen as potential leaders and advisors who could be molded into loyal servants of the Babylonian Empire. Daniel chapter 1 verses 3 to 4. Upon their arrival in Babylon, Daniel and his friends found themselves enrolled in an intense training program designed to immerse them in the culture of their captors. For 3 years they were taught the language, literature, and wisdom of the Babylonians. This was not just education, it was indoctrination, aimed at reshaping their identities to serve the empire. Daniel chapter 1 verse 5. To further solidify their transformation, Daniel and his friends were given new names. Daniel was called Belteshazzar, meaning Bel protect his life, aligning him with a Babylonian deity. Hananiah became Shadrach, Mishael became Meshach, and Azariah became Abednego, each name reflecting Babylonian gods, a stark contrast to their Hebrew names that honored the God of Israel. Despite the pressures to conform, Daniel made a firm decision not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, which were often dedicated to Babylonian gods. The food symbolized more than just sustenance. It represented a compromise of his faith and identity. So Daniel approached the chief official and requested a simpler diet, one of vegetables and water. Daniel chapter 1 verses 8 to 12. God honored Daniel's faithfulness and gave him favor with the official, who agreed to a 10-day test. At the end of the 10 days, Daniel and his friends appeared healthier and more nourished than any of the young men who ate the king's food. Their radiant appearance wasn't just a result of their diet, but a sign of God's blessing on their faithfulness. As the years of training went by, Daniel and his friends distinguished themselves not only through their appearance but in their wisdom, understanding, and character. They excelled in every area of study, from literature to philosophy, and even in the interpretation of dreams, skills that would later prove essential in the king's court. At the end of their training, Daniel and his friends were presented before King Nebuchadnezzar himself. The king found them 10 times better in wisdom and understanding than all the magicians, enchanters, and scholars of the kingdom. Daniel's unwavering commitment to his faith amidst the pressures of Babylon had not only preserved his identity, but elevated him to a place of great influence in the empire. Daniel chapter 1 verses 19 to 20. One night King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream so troubling that it shook him to his core. The dream was vivid, perplexing, and filled with unsettling imagery that the king could not understand. Desperate for answers, he summoned all the wise men of Babylon, astrologers, magicians, and enchanters, to interpret the dream, but none could provide an answer. Their failure enraged the king, and in his fury he decreed that all the wise men of Babylon be executed, including Daniel and his friends, Daniel chapter 2 verses 1 to 13. With their lives hanging in the balance, Daniel, filled with wisdom and courage, requested an audience with the king. Humbly and respectfully, he asked Nebuchadnezzar for time to interpret the dream. Daniel then turned to his friends, urging them to pray for mercy from the God of heaven, so that they might be spared. That very night, God revealed the mystery of the king's dream to Daniel in a vision. Daniel chapter 2 verses 17 to 19. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Daniel praised God, saying, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and power are his. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him." Daniel chapter 2 verses 20 to 22. Empowered by this divine revelation, Daniel confidently approached the king, ready to reveal the dream's interpretation. Daniel told the king that in his dream he saw a giant statue with a head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet partly of iron and partly of clay. Suddenly, a rock cut out, not by human hands, struck the statue, shattering it to pieces, and the wind carried the fragments away. The rock grew to become a huge mountain that filled the whole earth. Daniel chapter 2 verses 31 to 35. Daniel explained that the statue represented 4 successive kingdoms, starting with Babylon as the head of gold. These kingdoms would rise and fall, each inferior to the one before, but the rock that struck the statue symbolized a kingdom set up by God, an eternal kingdom that would never be destroyed or conquered. This kingdom would stand forever, outlasting all earthly empires. Daniel chapter 2 verses 36 to 45. Stunned by Daniel's accuracy and insight, Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate before Daniel and declared, "Surely your God is the God of gods, and the Lord of kings, and a revealer of mysteries. For you were able to reveal this mystery." Daniel chapter 2 verse 47. In recognition of Daniel's God-given wisdom, the king promoted him to a high position, making him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and chief of all the wise men. At Daniel's request, his friends Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were also given high positions, further demonstrating God's favor on those who remained faithful. Despite King Nebuchadnezzar's previous acknowledgement of the power of Daniel's God, his pride led him to create a massive golden statue as a testament to his own greatness. The king issued a decree. When the music played, all people were to bow down and worship the image. Anyone who refused would be thrown into a blazing furnace. Daniel chapter 3 verses 1 to 6. Among those gathered were Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They stood tall, refusing to bow before the idol. When confronted, they boldly declared to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Daniel chapter 3 verses 16 to 18. Nebuchadnezzar's pride was wounded, and in his rage, he ordered that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual. The flames roared intensely, and even the soldiers who carried Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to the furnace were overcome by the heat and perished. Daniel chapter 3 verses 19 to 22. As the king looked into the furnace, he was astonished. Instead of seeing 3 men bound and burning, he saw 4 men walking freely in the fire, completely unharmed. The 4th figure had an otherworldly appearance, described by the king as like a son of the gods. Daniel chapter 3 verse 25. Nebuchadnezzar approached the opening of the blazing furnace and called out, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, "Servants of the Most High God, come out. Come here." Daniel chapter 3 verse 26. The three men emerged from the furnace completely unharmed. The fire had not touched their bodies, their hair was not singed, and there was no smell of smoke on them. Nebuchadnezzar was overwhelmed by what he had seen. He declared, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants." They trusted in him and defied the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Daniel chapter 3 verse 28. Nebuchadnezzar issued a decree that anyone who spoke against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would be severely punished, for no other god could save in this way. The king then promoted the three men in the province of Babylon, turning a moment of potential death into a triumph of faith. Daniel chapter 3 verses 29 to 30. Years had passed, and Babylon was now under the rule of King Darius. Daniel, known for his exceptional wisdom and integrity, had risen to a position of great authority, serving as one of the top 3 administrators over the kingdom. His faithful service and outstanding character made him a favorite of the king, but it also stirred jealousy among the other officials. Unable to find any fault in Daniel's conduct, they devised a sinister plot to bring him down. Daniel chapter 6 verses 1 to 5. Knowing that Daniel's strength lay in his unwavering devotion to God, the officials devised a cunning plan. They convinced King Darius to issue a decree stating that anyone who prayed to any god or human other than the king for the next 30 days would be thrown into the lion's den. The king, flattered by the idea of such a decree, signed it into law, not realizing the trap being set for Daniel. Daniel chapter 6 verses 6 to 9. Despite knowing the decree had been signed, Daniel remained steadfast in his faith. He continued his practice of praying 3 times a day, giving thanks to God just as he always had. Daniel's devotion was not a mere routine. It was the foundation of his life, and nothing, not even the threat of death, could shake it. Daniel chapter 6 verse 10. The officials, eager to see Daniel's downfall, quickly reported his actions to the king. Though King Darius respected and admired Daniel, he was bound by the irrevocable law of the Medes and Persians. Reluctantly, he ordered Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den, but not before expressing his hope that Daniel's God would rescue him. Daniel chapter 6 verses 11 to 16. As Daniel was lowered into the lion's den, King Darius, deeply troubled, said to him, "May your God whom you serve continually rescue you." A stone was placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring, ensuring that no one could interfere. Daniel chapter 6 verses 16 to 17. Inside the den, the lions, known for their ferocity, remained inexplicably calm, for God had sent an angel to shut their mouths, and Daniel was unharmed throughout the night. That night, King Darius could not sleep. He refused food and entertainment, his mind consumed with concern for Daniel. At the first light of dawn, the king hurried to the lion's den. With a voice full of both fear and hope, he called out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve continually been able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel chapter 6 verses 19 to 20. To the king's great relief, Daniel answered, "My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty." Daniel chapter 6 verses 21 to 22. Overjoyed, King Darius ordered Daniel to be lifted out of the den. The men who had falsely accused Daniel were then thrown into the lion's den, and they met the fate they had intended for Daniel. Daniel chapter 6 verses 23 to 24. Moved by the miracle he had witnessed, King Darius issued a decree to all the peoples, nations, and languages in his kingdom. "I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end." Daniel chapter 6 verses 26. Daniel's faithfulness had not only saved his life, but had led to the exaltation of God's name throughout the empire. In the latter part of Daniel's life, God granted him a series of visions and prophecies that revealed the future of the world, the rise and fall of empires, and the ultimate triumph of God's kingdom. These visions, rich with symbolism and divine imagery, form some of the most profound and far-reaching prophecies in the Bible. In one of his most famous visions, Daniel saw 4 great beasts rising from the sea, each representing a powerful empire that would dominate the world. The first beast, a lion with eagle's wings, symbolized Babylon. The second, a bear with 3 ribs in its mouth, represented the Medo-Persian Empire. The third, a swift leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads, depicted the Greek Empire under Alexander the Great. The final beast, the most terrifying of all, symbolized Rome with its iron teeth and 10 horns, representing the empire's strength and the fragmentation of its power. Daniel chapter 7 verses 1 to 7. As Daniel watched, the vision moved from earth to heaven. He saw the Ancient of Days, a title for God himself, seated on a fiery throne, surrounded by thousands upon thousands of angels. The court was in session, and the books were opened, symbolizing the judgment of the nations. Daniel chapter 7 verses 9 to 10. In this vision, Daniel saw a mysterious figure called the Son of Man, coming with the clouds of heaven. This figure was given authority, glory, and sovereign power by the Ancient of Days. His kingdom would be everlasting, one that would never be destroyed. This vision is widely understood to be a prophecy of the coming Messiah, Jesus Christ, who would establish an eternal kingdom. Daniel chapter 7 verses 13 to 14. In another vision, Daniel was visited by the angel Gabriel, who brought him further understanding of the future. Gabriel revealed a precise timeline that foretold the coming of the Anointed One, the Messiah. He spoke of 70 weeks or sets of 7 years, detailing events leading up to the Messiah's arrival, his death, and the eventual desolation that would follow. This prophecy, known as the 70 Weeks of Daniel, is one of the most detailed prophecies in the Bible, pinpointing key events in God's redemptive plan. Daniel chapter 9 verses 24 to 27. Gabriel's words revealed that the Messiah would come to atone for sin, bring in everlasting righteousness, and seal up vision and prophecy. However, the prophecy also warned of a future time of great trouble and desolation before the ultimate victory of God's kingdom. These prophecies have fascinated and inspired believers for centuries, offering hope in the promise of God's final triumph over evil. The visions of Daniel are not just historical accounts, but divine revelations of God's sovereignty over the affairs of nations and his ultimate plan for redemption. From the rise and fall of earthly kingdoms to the coming of the Messiah and the final establishment of God's everlasting kingdom, Daniel's prophecies remind us that God is in control of history and that his purposes will be fulfilled. In conclusion, Daniel's story is one of unwavering faith, boldness in the face of adversity, and profound insight into God's plan for humanity. From the courts of Babylon to the lion's den, Daniel remained steadfast, serving as a beacon of hope and a reminder that God is sovereign over all the kingdoms of the earth. If you've been inspired by Daniel's incredible story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video to encourage others in their walk of faith. And remember, no matter the challenges you face, God is with you, just as he was with Daniel.